but the summer's about over. I know, that's why the time is now. You're gonna have to explain that. If you have electric heat, your heater is just your air conditioner running backwards all winter. You're saying it needs some refreshment? Yes. And if you have gas heat, now is the time to make sure your AC is in tip-top shape and restored to factory specs so that you can turn it on with confidence when the desert heat returns in a couple of months. Rejuvenation. Rejuvenation. How much? Just $129. That's a great deal. Great deals are what I'm known for, Zach. Really? I thought you was mostly known for having a dog named Sadie. Well, that too. Goettel. Goettl. Sadie said to say hello, by the way.
Good Rising. The Good Risings podcast is a collection of 6 mini shows curated to give you a daily shot of inspiration, motivation, humor, relationship advice, and even astrology. You can choose to listen to one or all of the daily Good Risings offerings available on our feed. It's the perfect daily practice for anyone looking to lead a more intentional, mindful, and inspired life. Listen to the Good Risings podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The spell is cast. Halloween time is back at the Disneyland Resort. And now, Kfi Am 640 wants to give you a chance to get in on the magic. Happy Hauntings are returning to both Disney California Adventure Park and Disneyland Park. With so much fiendish fun, it's a real scream now through October 31st. Don't miss the celebration. Offering subject to capacity. Restrictions that change without notice. Keep listening for your chance to win tickets on Kfi Am 640. More stimulating talk.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere on that there iHeartRadio app. Hey everybody, it's the Fork Report, all things food, beverage, and beyond. I am your well-fed host, Neil Sabedra. How do you do? Thanks for hanging out today. We're in the middle of Technique of the Week. We've got a lot to get to today. There's some interesting food news coming out of the Food Network. It's kind of a surprise to see. Among other things we'll get to later on today, don't forget Mr. Mo Kelly coming up at 6 o'clock, so go nowhere. Right now, Technique of the Week, we're talking about salt and pepper seasoning. We've talked about acid and the importance of acid. I think acid as a home cook has been one of the things that I feel, actually seasoning as a whole, is one of those things that we kind of pinch and pray, kind of pinch some, throw it in there, and hope for the best. And well, it tastes right, and then every once in a while we build a salt bomb or something, and we're screwed, and we don't know how to back ourselves out of it, and it's usually Thanksgiving or something when you're having tons of people over. So acid, salt, and pepper are going to be 3 necessities when you're cooking, and then you can get into all the other things, and we'll do that at another time. It's just salt and pepper seem to be synonymous. You know, you always build them together, salt and pepper this, salt and pepper the taste, all these things. As we talked about briefly, salt is a seasoning, pepper is a spice, so think of salt enhancing the flavor, pepper can change or add flavor. The salt comes from one place, comes from the ocean, but it does have many forms that it takes. You have the true sea salt, which is extracted from the wet sea, and then you have the stuff that is dried and needs to be mined out of rocks and caverns and all of these things based on the fact the sea was there at one time and is not anymore. Pepper comes from a peppercorn, and although we refer to it as a spice all the time, technically it's a fruit, and then it's dried out and it's ground. And, you know, for instance, I use a lot of Tasmanian pepper. There is something about it that I find to be magical. It's kind of chameleon-like. It adapts to whatever I'm cooking or using it for. I think it's got this sexy aroma, you know, when you smell it in its peppercorn state, or in that corn state, and then once it's ground, freshly ground, it is just like a cacophony. It's hard to kind of pinpoint what you're smelling or the things that you're tasting in it. But I personally love it, in addition to all the different types of peppers that I have here in the house as well. And there are many. You've got the red peppercorns, the white peppercorns, green peppercorns, and these are going to be different states of ripeness, and depending on that and when it's picked or how it's dried and all these things, you're going to get different flavors out of that as well. This is separate from the pink, what's referred to as the pink peppercorn, which is altogether different. But the usage of them, and it comes down to a key point. I talked about earlier, growing up and having the salt and pepper shakers. Usually it's table salt, and I've argued with people about this. Some people really love that nasty table salt. I don't. I find it to be metallic and nasty. And but you're going to have the grain size, or the corn, or the grit, the size of the salt. You can also do that with pepper, and when you're grinding it, as to doing a finer grind or a heftier grind. All of these things, the key is that with pepper, it's got that oil in it, and when it's fresh, it's fantastic, but the shelf life is short. So that stuff that you're keeping in a container somewhere that's broken apart, those oils they can go rancid actually, but they're also going to start to dry up, and it's going to change. That's why that nasty table pepper that we grew up with kind of became sandpaper at the end of the day. So finally, when using, you'll hear chefs all the time talk about layering flavor. They're salting, adding salt as they go, and letting it kind of marry with what's in there, in the dish, before you decide to add anything more. And chefs, man, it's such a thing of beauty to watch them season a dish, because as home cooks, we're fumbling and trying to figure these things out as we go. Pepper can be slightly different in the sense that it's going to have a different flavor whether you're using it early on in the dish or at the very end. If you I love to grill. If I'm grilling and I put the pepper on prior with the salt just before going on and doing a reverse sear that we've talked about many times here, is one thing, because once I put it in that searing position with the high heat, it's going to change. It's going to change. The oils are going to start to cook. You can burn pepper, things like that. So if you're adding pepper at the very end, it's going to be a much more potent and flavorful steak in a different profile than it would be if you put it on and then sear it at the end. We'll get into salt and pepper again sometime, because it's one of those things I'm constantly trying to learn more and more, and I wanted to impart those basics to you today. So it'll be another technique of the week that we will jump into it. All right, go nowhere. We've got more to come. It is the Fourth Report. I'm Neil Saavedra, KFI Am 640. Let's get the latest news now with Amy King in the KFI Newsroom.
The Coast Guard says more than 5,500 gallons of crude oil has been pulled from the water after the oil spill last week in Orange County. There have also been 13.5 barrels of tar balls and more than 192,000 pounds of oily debris recovered from the shoreline. Officials say updated estimates for the total gallons spilled into the ocean range from 25,000 on the low end to a worst-case scenario of 130,000 gallons. Governor Newsom has cracked down on so-called ghost guns.
California's adding a secret but growing class of weapons to those that can legally be seized under gun violence restraining orders. What's known as a red flag law allows police, family members, colleagues, employers, and teachers to ask judges to take firearms from those they fear are a possible threat to themselves or others. A bill Governor Newsom signed into law yesterday includes what are known as ghost guns in the list of what can be seized starting July 1st, 2022. Those are guns assembled from parts that might not be registered or purchased through a dealer. Mark Ronner, KFI News.
CVS workers have agreed to a new contract. The new deal includes higher pay, better health care benefits, guaranteed hours, and more measures to keep stores safe. The workers will get pay increases of nearly 10%, with all wage increases retroactive to July 4th, 2021, when the last contract expired. U.S. officials have plans to meet with the Taliban in Qatar. It'll be the first face-to-face meeting between high-level U.S. delegation and the Taliban since the U.S. withdrew from Afghanistan in August.
The two sides are expected to talk about giving safe passage out of Afghanistan to Americans, foreign nationals, and Afghans who want to leave, but were not able to get out before the U.S. troop withdrawal. The first in-person Fleet Week in the U.S. since the pandemic began is underway in the Bay Area. Big Navy ships have rolled up to the San Francisco waterfront.
I got the chills. I just wanted to cry because I just feel so patriotic.
Terry Paulus came into the city from Danville. Along with the big ships in the water, the Navy Blue Angels, who were just at the Pacific Air Show in Huntington Beach last weekend, will be performing. Stall in East LA on the 60. Pedro. Okay, we're going to check. Oh, there he is.
If you're traveling on the 60 eastbound at Atlantic Boulevard, a stalled car is stuck in the middle lane, so your drive is jammed from the 710. And if you're on the 5 southbound in Stevenson Ranch at McBean Parkway, crash there still has the left lane blocked. The second lane from the left has been reopened, but you're still seeing a heavy crawl from the 126. Corona on the 15 northbound at El Cerrito Road. A crash is blocking the off-ramp there. You'll see some stop-and-go traffic from Temesco Canyon. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Pedro Moreno.
Hey, new windows for your home obviously bring light, beauty, efficiency. And I know this firsthand because the French doors and the stunning kitchen windows from American Vision Windows brought some of the most dramatic and beautiful changes to our home. You know, Tracy and I have been doing a lot of remodeling and refurbishing and stuff like that here at the house. We know Bill and Kathleen's story. We've heard it here for years. Such a horrible experience when they replaced their own windows. They started their own company. So you fast forward 20 years and they're still bringing warmth, all that great light, of course, beauty to homes like mine. And they can do the same thing for you. For a limited time, American Vision Windows, they're going to pay the tax plus 0 payments until 2023. Tax based on materials only on purchase of 8 or